The Northern Democratic Watch has accused Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State of imposing impunity and suspending the constitution for selfish reasons, leading to a constitutional crisis in the state. According to the group's president, Mahmud Abubakar, the governor's actions have resulted in the emergency of two rival fractions of the State House of Assembly, creating a constitutional nightmare that has left citizens bewildered and abandoned. Abubakar cited the unlawful suspension of 10 duly elected members of the House of Assembly without credible legislative procedure or fair hearing, disenfranchising thousands of Zamfara State citizens. The group demanded an immediate and independent investigation into the crisis, reinstatement of the suspended lawmakers, nullification of the 2025 budget process, and declaration of emergency rule in Zamfara State to restore law, order, and constitutional governance. The group described the crisis as a fundamental threat to Nigeria's democracy, urging the National Assembly to act with courage and urgency to restore democracy and protect citizens' constitutional rights. The group therefore called on President Bola Tinubu to invoke his constitutional powers to declare a state of emergency in Zamfara State, temporarily suspending existing political structures to restore peace, stability, and constitutional governance.
Today, Zamfara State finds itself gripped by an unprecedented constitutional crisis. Two rival factions now lay claim to being the legitimate state House of Assembly. This absurdity, instigated by the reckless, anti-democratic posture of Governor Dauda Lawal, has thrown the state into chaos and confusion. In flagrant violation of the Constitution and the principle of natural justice, 10 duly elected members of the Zamfara State House of Assembly were suspended indefinitely. No credible legislative procedure was followed, no fair hearing was granted, and no constitutional safeguards were respected. This action, based solely on political differences and personal vendettas, have effectively disenfranchised thousands of Zamfara citizens, stripping them of their constitutional rights to representation. Worse still, a bizarre situation has emerged where two parallel legislative houses are operating independently of each other, enacting conflict resolutions and creating a constitutional nightmare that has left the citizens of Zamfara State bewildered and abandoned. Under this atmosphere of impunity, the state government has gone ahead to claim the passage of the 2025 appropriation bill, a process so compromised, so fraught with illegality, that it calls into question that very foundation of governance and fiscal responsibility in the state. The existence of two parallel House of Assembly in Zamfara State is not just a local embarrassment, it is a direct assault on Nigerians' democracy. It is a violation of the rights of the electorate who entrusted their votes to their representatives. It is a repudiation of the rule of law and a dangerous slide into the lawlessness that must be urgently arrested. Given the seriousness of this situation, the Northern Democratic Watch makes the following demands. 1, immediate and independent investigation. I repeat, we call for immediate and independent investigation. We call on the National Assembly to immediately launch an independent, transparent, and credible investigation into this unlawful suspension of the 10 lawmakers and the emergence of parallel legislative faction in Zamfara State. The investigation must be thorough, non-partisan, and time-bound, with findings made public. 2, reinstatement of the suspended lawmakers. We demand the immediate reinstatement of the 10 illegally suspended members of the Zamfara State House of Assembly. Their suspension is unconstitutional, illegitimate, and represent an unacceptable violation of their rights and the rights of the people they represent. 3. Nullification of the 2025 budget process. The purported passage of the 2025 appropriation bill conducted under such illegal and chaotic circumstances must be immediately nullified. We urge the National Assembly to supervise a proper legislative process that respects constitutional order, due process, and democratic norms before any budget can be deemed valid in Zamfara State. 4. Declaration of emergency rule in Zamfara State. We call on the National Assembly to, without delay, advise President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who we respect and we know as a father of democracy in our country, Nigeria. He respects the rule of law and don't joke with anything that violates the democratic rule of this country, to invoke his constitutional power by declaring a state of emergency in Zamfara State. This will temporarily suspend the existing political structure and enable the federal government to restore law and constitutional governance to the state. The people of Zamfara State deserve peace, stability, and protection of their democratic rights. We must be clear, the crisis in Zamfara State is not a partisan issue. It is a fundamental right to the survival of Nigeria's democracy. If such reckless abuse of power is allowed, it will send a chilling message to other governors and political leaders that constitutional violation and executive lawlessness carry no consequences. The world is watching. Nigerians are watching. History is watching. The National Assembly must act with courage, patriotism, and urgency. The Northern Democratic Watch stands firmly on the side of democracy, the rule of law, and the protection of the constitutional rights of every Nigerian citizen. We will continue to lend our voices and mobilize democratic forces across the nation until justice is done and democracy is restored in Zamfara State.